those that don't know, I joined the army in '64 as a boy, with no formal qualifications at all. I entered men's service, as they called it then, in 1966, and went to the Gloucestershire Regiment. And I served in Berlin, Minden, Belize, Canada, and Northern Ireland. I was a corporal at age 20, which is quite quick, in charge of 10 guys on operations in Northern Ireland in the early 70s when this was the shooting war. Okay, so there was never an officer around when you needed one. Everything was down to us. We did it, the junior NCOs. Within 5 years, I was a platoon sergeant, and then finally a platoon commander. And then I realized that my days were gone as a operational soldier. I'd be farmed out to training jobs and stuff like that. So I thought, nah, I'm too young. I'm 28 years old. I'm still got things that I need to do. So I did selection in 1978 and passed it. And then I've once again served all over the world doing different things, which I tell you about, but I'd have to kill you. And then then went on to my big highlight of my whole service, really, which was the Falklands War. And I took part in, I'd say, taking of South Georgia, the raid on Pebble Island, and taking of Mount Kent. I was later, after I finished with the army, I went on to training jobs, really. I was the chief instructor at the International Long Range Reconnaissance Patrol School in Bavaria. Then I went back to UK and started up the infantry light roll course. Was doing that for about 5 years and brought it to the to one of the main promotion courses that's recognised in the army. And then I went off to train parachutists at Bryce Norton as the RSM parachute. And my ruling was that I would do the first descent on every course.
Wow.
So if the old boy, the old grey-haired bugger can do it, then I can do it. That was my mantra on it. And then after that, I was posted to Warminster as the divisional sergeant major for the company commanders courses, where I learned how to chase cats, basically. Senior officers are a pain in the arse. And then I actually retired from uniform service there. And I went off to just across the square, basically, into another office as a civilian civil servant, working for the Infantry Trials and Development Unit, producing urgent operational requirements for the guys working in Afghanistan and Iraq and that sort of thing.
Cool. And
since I retired in 2013, I'm basically a professional dog walker. for my border terrier, who is now across my feet actually at the moment and farting.
Sounds like my dog.
And basically my days are spent completely retired. I spend training for ultras, doing ultras. I cycle, I do Pilates, all that sort of stuff. I'm basically staying alive, hopefully. Okay. And finally, I've co-written a book with Colonel Stuart Tootle about my experiences during the Falklands War, called SES Seeking Down, and I recommend it. You can buy it on Amazon.
Well, that's brilliant, Mark. And what would be your top, as a practical soldier, what would be your top leadership tip for anybody listening? You know, a bit of sound wisdom that served you well.
Okay, the first thing is you need to know the guys that you're working with. You've got to be approachable. They need to know that they can come to you if they've got problems or whatever. Always set an example. Okay, so be a good guy, and lead from the front. And the main thing is that loyalty goes down as well as up. If the guys know that you've got their back, they'll definitely look after yours. Yeah. There you go.
Fantastic. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. Mark Splash Ashton, the author of SAS Seeking Down, a definite good read. And thank you for sharing your stories, and thank you for your service to our country to free the Falklands Islands and to be there for your colleagues. It was a real pleasure and an honor having you on the show.
Namaste.